The interview that you're about to watch is with the man himself, Nick Fisher. And if that name doesn't ring a bell, some of the brands that he runs will. I'm talking Pace Morby Sub 2. I'm talking Russell Brunson's Prime Mover. He even worked with Sam Ovens to bring consulting.com to life. And today, collectively, his portfolio of info and e-learning brands are doing over $100 million in revenue a year. Nick's been in the game for a long time, and it's obvious that he knows what he's talking about. But in this interview, we touch on some topics that he's never publicly discussed before. And those topics relate to community and in-person events. In this interview, you'll see Nick break down exactly why he's hosting in-person events for his personal brand and why he sees that as a good investment of his time, energy, and money. He breaks down why him and Pace Morby are so bullish on in-person events for their Sub 2 ecosystem. And finally, at the end, Nick breaks down why in-person events and community might be the last moats left for info and e-learning brands in 2026 and beyond. Enjoy the interview, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, we can kind of dive into it. So I got Nick here. Nick is
What's
one
up,
of
guys?
just runs so deep in the industry, like behind some of the biggest brands. You guys know, like Sub 2. You run Prime Mover as well, right? Russell Brunson's
Prime Mover. Yep.
coaching program. Yeah. So I'm gonna do a whole intro in the beginning. You guys just saw that. Diving into what Nick has done and what he has done for the industry, honestly. But in this interview, we're gonna be talking about something you probably haven't talked about a whole lot online, which
Yeah, man.
is in-person events, which is
Yeah.
kind of
No
controversial
one ever
these
asked me.
days, man. Like a lot of people are bullish on, virtual webinars, which are awesome. They're great vehicles. But in person is also, in our opinion,
Yeah.
extremely powerful. And I think we were just chatting, you could agree there. So that's gonna be kind
Yeah.
of the whole frame of this conversation.
People can check my older content if they want to learn auto webbies. That's what people used to know me for. That's the first thing I became known
Mhm.
for, and I'm tired of talking about it because tactically they haven't changed a whole lot in
Mhm.
just the tech itself. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk live.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, sweet. First thing I want to kind of dive into is I was gonna come into this interview with the frame of like your previous mastermind that you just ran, which I think it would be cool to touch on. But you just
Mhm.
told me you guys ran 25 events last year,
Yeah.
which I'm like just that's a ton of volume in the in-person space. So do you want to kind of just walk us through like the different event models you're running and kind of where they plug into your
Yeah.
portfolio companies?
Yeah, 100%. So there is, I'll actually give you just a quick tour here of the office. So we've flipped now the events of where we do them. This is, we don't consider podcast events, but we have Paces podcast studio, which I'll use sometimes too. But
Nice.
this is now what used to be the bullpen. I don't know if you can see this. This is now our live event center. And
Oh, sweet.
normally on event days, which we use about, 25% of this room's capacity,
Uh,
the
dude, that is sweet.
here. So we can accommodate about 200 in this room right here. And then in the other room on that side is where I've been doing my mastermind, which is about 40 people can get into there,
Hmm.
into that room. And then external events we will do at hotel sites if we need capacity over that, like for our annual in March coming
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
That is at the Gaylord in Denver. So we can accommodate like 3,000.
Yeah, no, if you've got 3,000 at a 3,000 person event space in your office, then you're crushing it.
Yeah, I don't know
That'd,
anyone who would actually, well, no, I don't know anyone. You'd have
that'd
to
be
own a stadium.
crazy. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, I know with your actually the first post I saw from you on X was you promoting your mastermind. I was like, oh, this guy's doing an in-person event. That's awesome. And then I started to like dive into your stuff. I was like, oh, like I know this guy. Like he's the real deal. For your mastermind, what's why do you do that? Like, what's your purpose behind it? Like, what's your whole why of like allocating your time towards gathering people together for an in-person event? Well,
Great question, because I don't make any money from it. So why?
yeah.
People did ask me that, and they're like, could you turn this into, why don't you just do like a 2 or 3 day mastermind like everyone else? Why don't you charge 10K like a month, like Jeremy Haynes does, or like Cole does, or something a little bit higher priced?
Mhm.
To me, it is it's not my number one focus. Like our portfolio revenue and our events that I'm doing with Pace supersede my ambitions.
Mhm.
But my secret ulterior motive for doing it is to learn. And I'm putting the best people I can in that room. And I don't just indiscriminately sell it to everyone. There is actual criteria that are beyond financial. And the first one was invite only, 100% invite only.
Mhm.
And the second one was 75% invite,
Mhm.
25% seats in the room. The third one I do will be in April. I don't know what the mix is, but it's not going to go much further than that. Like I'm very, very adamant about not diluting the quality of the room. And specifically, I'll share the landing page for it.
Mm,
It'll be different than this guy's is not the actual date. Did in base 44 here.
nice.
So the thesis though is I just invited, honestly, I invited even more than that. I asked the one question on an exit survey is who's the most helpful in the room that you heard, whether it was just in a one-to-one conversation, networking, or someone who spoke. The first
Mm,
time I spoke the whole entire time, but I didn't
mm,
want it to be just about me. I mainly wanted to demonstrate what was going on with the Creative Nation tour, and we had a 120-person event going on at the same time. So in my room, we got to kind of peep in the window of what was going on during the Paces event, and I was able to explain the motion as it was happening,
oh, that's
which I don't
sweet.
think anyone's ever done before.
Yeah, that's really
So for
cool.
me, yeah, if I can check off innovative, no one's ever done it before for the model that I'm showing, and meta example, innovative in the fact that no one's ever explained the live event in person, demonstrating it to the people attending with an office pass. I was like, yes. So that was very fulfilling. I love those 2 days. I just can't afford the time right now to do a traditional mastermind model,
Hmm.
nor do I know like it would make me happy. It would make me more money, but
Yeah.
that's not exactly what I want. Like masterminds aren't infinitely scalable. At least I haven't found a model yet. Like Owners Club for us is even a tricky one because now that it's at 550 members and it's not cheap, it's like 35, 40K at the moment to get in. And we only allow people to get in 1 day a year, 2 days a
Mm,
year. Um, and beyond, like, I didn't even know if we could handle 500 plus members, and we went slightly over that, and it's a lot. So you start to have to think about like levels and tiers. And that's like if I ended up scaling this, it would be maybe 2 rooms. There's 2 rooms I'm passionate about, which is like next gen go to market growth hustlers of like, hey, I either want to get something off the ground, launch a bunch of offers, kind of like Josh Gavin does.
mm,
He spoke at the last one. So I love, love, love people that are in that area because they just have this zest and like grind and time in their life where they can put the time and energy in, and they'll be the ones that are going to be teaching me as soon as they have any inkling of success.
mm.
Even without having success, people teach me in that room. So that's one area I'm passionate about that I might extend is just a go-to-market room versus the scale up and the 8-figure people kind of room.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you pointed out like the whole proximity thing. Like that is like one of the single most valuable like derivatives of an event. It's just like the people you're around, like the access to information, especially as like we get more, digital and AIified, you could say. Like the access to human perspective and like what people are doing in real time and how people like you and people like Josh Gavin and Jeremy Haynes and like all these people in the industry are interpreting what's happening. Like hearing those insights is just incredibly valuable. And that stuff, um,
Yes.
in our philosophy, it comes out the most in like in-person experiences for sure.
100%. So I'll share, I haven't shared this either. I just blurred it with my Blur Web tools. This is the mastermind. You can see invite list too.
Yeah.
And you can see just like even the people that I was like, cool. Basically, if I invite 60 or 70 people personally, then I'll fill this room up by myself and I'll learn and I get to facilitate it and host it, which is cool.
Yeah,
So yeah, 50 Cent, we almost got to him. I'm inviting him next.
dude.
Uh
I'm seeing some ballers on this list, man. Like this is a crazy,
Yeah,
crazy
it's a
lineup.
crazy list, and I've been very blessed to have worked for or ghostwritten for some people that are the bigger names on the list. That's usually how I meet the bigger names,
Hmm.
because I've written for them or worked with them, and then the peers like that. It's just cool, like me and Jeremy Gabbert, who shout out to Jeremy. He's the CRO for Cardone
Hmm.
right now in Scottsdale. Me and him lived in the same apartment building and we're on the come up together 10 years ago. I was director of marketing at Clever Investor with Cody Sperber. He was
Nice.
with Dean Graziosi, and then the rest is kind of history. So, kind of my generation, I started young in this game.
Mm.
And working with Sam Evans, obviously, he taught me about 50% of what I know. And then from there, everyone wanted to work with me after I left. So I got lucky in the fact that proximity and a few key jobs that I took during like my early 20s led
Mm.
to some really big things quickly.
Nice. Yeah, that's
Mm.
awesome. I also like one big pain point with people when they're hosting in-person events, and honestly, a reason why we turn away a lot of people is like having to leverage to like fill a room, even to get people there, like getting people to a room requires a lot of leverage. Some people don't
Yeah.
realize that, and you can brute force it with like ads and outreach and whatnot, but we typically work with people that have the leverage to actually like get someone in the room. So the fact that you're inviting people, like it's invite only, like you're you're controlling how many people get in the room, which is a completely opposite issue than what a lot of people deal with, which is like just trying to get anybody in the room. So I think like with the spot that you're in
Yeah.
is a really good spot to be doing in-person events.
Right. And yeah, like it worse. I'd actually love some advice because it wasn't like it was necessarily easy to convince even like those types of people, they have the time value of money is higher. So I was running into like, is it worth my time to just come in? So I
Yeah.
think one day helped too. And a lot of people told me they're like, yeah, man, sometimes I don't even go to the mastermind on dates twos and three. Like I'm just kind of chilling or not listening. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, me too. Like I can focus and listen. And if we just do kind of what I was doing is just VIP night before cocktail party at my house.
Mhm.
I've done that twice now, just with like a closer circle of the people coming, and then flow into a 9 to 5 type day where it's just in
Mhm.
the office and very much focused on learning, networking, and not experience or status. So to me, it was a different, I've never sold that before. So it was a challenge to think about. And I'm curious maybe even how you go about live events and bridging some of the time gaps or the travel
Mhm.
gaps. Those are
Yeah.
the hardest ones, I think, but then more so than money.
No, that's super valid. And it's honestly, it's interesting to hear you bring that up because a lot of the when we build out like an event strategy for a client, it like depends heavily on the ICP, like what you just mentioned. Like the people you're working with, like they would rather spend one day with somebody than two because it takes up so much time. They could be
Mhm.
allocating that somewhere else. Where a lot of the ICP of our ICP, the clients that they're serving, they want like a 2 or 3 day experience and typically won't come out because it's like, oh, I'm gonna invest in flights and a hotel just for a 1 day experience. I'd rather have like 2 or 3 days, which is a completely different like it depends on like how much money someone has, how affluent they are, like what they're doing. But it's
That's
interesting to see like
interesting.
the other side of it with the people that you're getting in the room because you're getting in all
So
like the biggest names in the industry. So those guys need to be careful with their
yeah,
time.
right. And they have different questions and objections, right? Is basically what I'm getting at, even if they're my friends. And I just tell them like, hey, just trust me, it'll be worth it. It's still like, well, dude, like, what are you gonna be doing? They're like, did you prepare anything? I'm like, yeah, guys, come on now. Uh, but for let's say that second group, because I am planning on moving into one, and for me, it'll be primarily focused on like selfishly teaching just so that like recruiting pipeline, we publish more
Mhm.
brands, the more opportunities and people that know us, especially with Pace, has put us now in the position where we can publish known influencers as opposed to micros and nanos or people that without a course.
Mhm.
Very lucky, but we run out of talent real fast. So like for me, I was very fortunate that I invited a few people that I trusted to that mastermind who are like good enough operators and were working as a number two or number three at another info brand, just
Yeah.
to put in like close proximity, be like, hey, come, like grass is greener over here, kind of thing. And that like that's how I got shout out to Caleb. Actually, I don't know. He'll have to tell his own story how I convinced him, but I was like, dude, you are going to be better than me. I can see it already. Like you are better at your age than I ever was at your
Mhm.
age. Please come work here so I don't have to keep publishing brands.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, that'll be the joy or the selfish motivation, but otherwise I don't really care. Like that's not the intent is to lock everyone in the room and give a recruiting pitch for New Reach.
Yeah.
However, I think that one could probably go maybe 1 to 3 days. So you would just
Mhm.
verify by asking the market and just like how many days would be ideal to come, or what's the kind of phrasing or a way you distill that market analysis?
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. We actually we get pretty into the weeds with the events that we do. We actually like we do an onboarding call with every single attendee before the event just to download their pain points, what they're looking to get out of the
Dang,
experience.
dang,
Like
I'm
just so we can
sloppy.
like
I'm gonna hire you guys. I should be doing that too. And Cole, I remember Cole Gordon does that too before
yeah.
Master. Smart.
Well, we
Hmm.
learned early on that like we would build these experiences and like we were like this is awesome, like this is like the best event ever. And then we'd see on the post event feedback that's like it would have been cool if we would
No,
have like focused on this pain point. We're like we didn't even think about that because we built the event based on like what we thought they wanted. So we just figured out if we
yeah.
just ask them, then it's like the easiest way to build a cool experience.
Man,
Yeah.
that's always the answer. Now I feel dumb for asking. Like that's what I tell people too. I'm like, well, have you asked the market?
I wanna hear a little bit more about the whole event strategy you guys run at Sub 2 with
Cool.
Pace. Pace actually he spoke at one of our events in the early days and like still to this
That's
day
what I
one of my
heard.
favorite speakers. Like the dude's awesome on stage.
What
Um,
story did he tell? Do you remember it all?
I just remember I don't remember the story, but I remember he like went into the crowd and started like talking to people in real time, and it was
That's
interesting because
insane.
like this wasn't. Like it was a conference for emerging fund managers, so it wasn't like his typical stuff that he was teaching. So he spent a lot of time working with the crowd and like putting people on the hot seat, which I just really appreciated. Like breaking that fourth wall is like
Mm.
my favorite thing with the speaker. So he absolutely killed it. He was voted like I think top three favorite speakers of that event with almost 2,000 attendees. So absolutely killed it. But
Good.
I know
No,
you
that's
guys are doing
great. I'm gonna
some.
send him this when it launches.
Yeah, no,
That
he'll
makes
yeah.
me happy to hear. He's a freaking magician, and most people don't have the skill to do that, to walk the crowd, and basically do crowd work. To me, it's like a comedian with a gift of crowd work. It is like a skill. Some people
Mhm.
don't really respect that type of style, but I do, and I know like the craft that goes into it. It's just like he does the same thing in our events. He'll walk and he's truly interested in meeting people, which is why he does it. I find the same way. I don't like being disconnected up on stage,
Yeah,
really.
totally.
It's hard. Hmm.
Yeah, we're also like we're seeing a shift in the industry right now too, where it's like the classic, like funnel hacking live type event, Tony Robbins style event where it's like, keynote
Yep.
speakers on stage, like clear figure in the stage, like audience is just sitting there being passive. Like we've kind of ditched
Yep.
that model and went more towards like the hands-on, like we're building in real time, like very interactive and connected. We're seeing that more of a demand of that in attending in-person events, which like Pace was ahead of the time. Like he was doing that back in, 2021, 2022, which is like
Dude,
crazy
you
to see.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
heck yeah. Because a lot of people are like, how'd you guys, me and him both joke about when someone comes and they're like, bro, I think the secret is like community. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been on that
Like you
for
wouldn't
like,
say.
yeah, yeah, like since the last decade. So it just takes a while for the community to scale. So a lot of people, when they want community, they look at maybe Pace now and just think it's an instant revenue hack, and it's not. It's not like you can just turn on community and people become like the way we built community, like the idea was to me, Fight Club. Pace thought of it as like go giver. So that was the term he gave the thesis for like the types of people he wanted in there. So I'm
Mhm.
like, cool, like go giver, Fight Club model. That's what he was running even on his natural accord. When I met him and Jamil, Jamil being the expert in astro flipping and my partner here too,
Mhm.
he and Pace were already doing meetups. And Pace was it's actually in the very first VSL we ever did together. He was more comfortable with inviting a few people from his like Google Sheet meetup list of just people who wanted to learn from him
Uh,
than he was doing it in front of like a teleprompter or anything else. So I knew I was going to love him right away when he was like, "Could you just invite a live like audience to watch me teach this BSL and I could teach it to him and then do a demo and then maybe like a ride along after?" And I was like, "Holy crap,
Dude, that is
no, like no one's
awesome.
ever done this." Yeah. So that was a joy. But yeah, it's not for everyone. And I always say you don't have to build a community in this industry. It's become, and I, being at consulting.com in school, like Sam and Hormozy have done a great job of selling
Mm.
their version of what community needs to look like for you to be successful. Obviously, I was a part of that and I believe it. It's my preference. But I've seen people win other ways too.
Mm.
And live events without a community like work too. You
Yeah,
have a sense of community for a few days. So
100%.
so there's always a sense of community or unity that people are always looking for. That's fundamental, but the way people go about it can be different.
Yeah, totally. No, that's a
Mm.
that's a good segue too into the like the event strategy you guys are running right now.
Yeah.
You remind me the name of it, the like the event like in different cities, like what's that
Yeah,
called?
I'll show you guys here.
Yeah.
Creative Nation Tour. So the Creative Nation Tour is the one of the coolest things, top five coolest things we've done as a company, in my opinion. And definitely maybe one or two craziest ideas for
Yeah,
sure.
this
I can't
is
think of anything that are
actually
crazier.
insane. Being an event
Yeah.
guy, I know how insane this is. So this is
Right. So
like,
yeah, and then look at
yeah.
some of these dates too. 10/25 in Honolulu, vlog attached, 10/27 in Anchorage, then Oklahoma. Like clearly
Those aren't close. Anchorage
those
and
aren't
Oklahoma aren't
close. So
close.
then this is cohesive. This is the Midwest part of it.
Yeah.
Chicago, Milwaukee, 2 days apart, then Green Bay next day, next day, next day, Fargo, next day, next day, next day. And he Pace hit, I want to say 46 of the first 47 tour dates. I saw him in Nashville. I went to that one, which was around this time, and I saw him in Miami, which was
Mm.
around 47. And I was like, bro, like I thought you were going to cancel a few more, like things would come up, whatnot. That was pretty impressive. So New York, shout out to WAP who let us use the office in New York.
Nice.
That one doesn't have a video yet. I think because our team, they got broken into in Philly. We got our van like smashed and
Really?
equipment stolen, so they
Oh,
probably didn't have it
dang.
for New York. We'll have to do some UGC. Noting myself will do a UGC video for New York,
That's crazy.
combined video footage. But yeah, like you can see, like there is proof that he is doing it. And I think for all time, I'll look at this and I'll look back at this like era of our life as just a time that was really unique. And we won't have to obviously do this every single year. But like I said, the Fight Club sort of modeling that we put into place for this community is that you have emergent regional leaders, and,
Mm,
and once you have certainly like at this point, we have over 100 combined regional, metro, and captain leaders, like 3 layers in between PACE and a core student or member.
mm.
So to me, at that point, it's self-sustaining. And like the one thing that Charlie Kirk like didn't do, who passed away, like the campus tour, I took inspiration for, or I saw the parallel right away with what those two were doing, just different ways to go about it.
Yeah, yeah.
He never had the time or maybe the capacity to think about who he was going to place at those campuses that he was going to in order to like spread the word of whatever Turning Point's trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't entirely know, but that is like that's the idea is that if you do this once and you do it right, PACE has only visited some of these places just once, and we just identified students who were there ahead of time. You nurture your leaders ahead of doing a tour like this, ideally. But if you don't have any students, then you could also just do this and just see what happens. These days with TikTok and a good enough idea, you could spring a meetup anywhere with probably influencers too. So
Yeah,
there's always
totally.
ways to go about it. But tactically, like besides just being impressive, the one thing I always tell people you can take away from this is it's not the physicality of it that you guys need to do. It's the fact that you just choose some dates that work. Like if you're on vacation and you have students, think about, okay, Pace would always think about, we would be at mastermind dinners in a different city and he'd be like, student meetup tonight, like put it on his IG. 8 people would come maybe like the first year. Now we're hitting tour stops like Miami and 800 people are showing up for a free meetup. It's insane. So
Insane.
it just takes a while to snowball and you can't expect, maybe you can't expect numbers, depends on your size of influence, but I wouldn't expect. And if like 2 or 3 people show up, I watch Pace do one-on-ones with students at first. So to me, it just all snowballs. And the idea is just to start. And then those people eventually can get you out of your own personal brands. So that's the benefit of the community moat, other than just the retention and
Mm,
ascension of revenue, is just like becomes actually a cohesive brand if done well over time. We're
mm.
not quite there yet, but at some point, the combined, let's call it social media following of our student leaders will exceed Pace. It's just math, right? It'd be hard for it not to work out that way when you have hundreds of student leaders who are all
Yeah.
around Pace, also borrowing authority. So that is that's pretty much the only good way of getting out your own personal brand. Every other way I've seen, like successor, unless you have a son who's equally as talented, is like Tony Robbins' son didn't want to take over the kingdom, for instance. But if he
Yeah.
did, would it be the same? Would he be 80% as good, 70% as good? I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I can point to an example too often where the keep it in the family model works well. So,
Mm,
yep, that's all I'll say there. But yeah, regardless, guys, this all leads up to our annual event.
mm.
These were just reschedules for Texas because of the snowstorm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But after the 7th in Tucson, we ride right into hitting our annual event in Denver on the 11th with 3,000 people. And the goal, like I was explaining to you before, is to turn that into Get Creative Podcast was the original idea for this. We were just doing them virtual, but the idea of destroying every single external objection that you get for real estate of just like, I can't do a deal in my city. Look at this. Like we always had this, but Pace had never done a deal in every single state or city. So
Mm,
now we can claim both Pace has done it and we have students who've done it. In any good offer, you have the like if the offer is good, you either have someone saying in their head, too good to be true, or that won't work for me. Um, Too good to be true is usually destroyed by just proof of
yeah.
someone else doing it, and that it can't work for me is also destroyed by the fact that both Pace and someone else did it. It's like, cool, it worked for him and it worked for someone else. And like ideally we've put in a few that have been like Maddie, homeless woman who did a deal in 19 days with Pace's help, destroys the money objection, right? You just
Yeah.
think about all those things, all those dominoes you can knock down until it's just like So what excuse are you giving me? And that's what I want to arm our sales team with, is just like the conviction to not let people off the hook if they say any sort of excuse. I'm like, I don't really understand. I'm like, I'm showing you this. And you're saying X, right?
Yeah.
So whether or not they will all like catch that fever and believe in it as much as I believe in pace and everything we do, I don't know, but that's my intent.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, that is like again, we've mentioned a few times like stuff that no one's doing. Like that is also something that no one really has is like here's an example of like me literally doing something at every single state just to prove to like my community that it's possible. And also like with that creative tour, that is like it's not the most convenient thing in the world, you know. Like he could probably be doing something else.
No, it's
But
expensive too. Like we
yeah,
wrapped the bus. It was well over, before we started, it was well over 1 million in expense, which
yeah,
like I at first didn't actually want to do. I was like, can we just do a cheaper version? Right?
yeah.
P&L will be better. I like getting paid. So to me, it's it didn't take very long. It took about maybe one quarter of the way into the tour for me to be like, okay, yeah, this will ROI. It's just going to take longer than our typical ad spend deployment. It's
Mhm.
not like you're going to spend money on a tour and it's going to ROI day one, day two,
Yeah,
day 14 even. So,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then you said that kind of leads up into your annual event, which correct me if
Hmm.
I'm wrong, with that event, of course, it like provides a ton of value. Like it's for the community. It's like a big gathering, like
Yeah.
almost like a state of the union for the ecosystem. But you guys
Yeah.
also like, an opportunity for people to ascend up into a high ticket offer, correct?
Yep. Yeah. So people, I think most people, especially our students, if they've attended, they now know that that is the deal. For 2 years in a row, we didn't have this, but we did the annual event because we wanted to get all of our students, and really like we think of it as a family reunion.
Mhm,
We only sell to people who have bought one of our ecosystem products.
mhm,
And you can think of it as like we have in industry speak, it's a bunch of biz op mid tickets. In if you're not like watching this and that doesn't make any sense, just imagine courses and people that help you make more money, whether it's real estate, business, credit, drop shipping, anything could be. And then
mhm,
they all layer up to Owners Club, which is it teaches you how to acquire businesses or stop trading time for money. So everything that we teach, it's say like a 3 to 12,000 price point is active income for the most part. It's not like any passive income, get rich like quick or get rich easy type thing.
yeah, yeah.
Very much like this is work, but it will work if you put the work in. And
Mhm,
then finally, we're like, okay, so now that you have all this money and you want to stop grinding so much, how do you go about that? The best comparison that people know is maybe like Cody Sanchez of like, could you buy businesses, right? Could
mhm,
you participate? And for a lot of people, that's a hard jump to make to go from like, oh, I'm killing it in real estate, like making 100,000 plus per year is killing it to me.
mhm.
Still, if you're a real estate investor, it's not easy to get to that mark.
Yeah.
Um, and it can be hard though to be like, well, I don't have enough money to invest and buy businesses by myself. So Owners Club solves that need by the partnership opportunities.
Mhm,
Everyone there in that ascension has a buy box of what they're looking to buy. And people partner up and they're business partners with Pace in most everything that he buys at that level now. So we
mhm.
get to share stuff, which isn't like part of the offering, but just because of compliance reasons, we can't guarantee that they're going to buy businesses with Pace,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that ends up being what happens a lot of the times. So,
Gotcha.
yep. And yeah, then it's just a good way to inch into it, and everyone has some shared risk and leverage that they wouldn't have access to before.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
we're all hoping, I think Pace will be a billionaire, for sure. And I hope he brings me up to that level, because he is getting access to stuff and deal flow that I don't sitting in this office because he's out on the road. He's hearing all
Yeah.
these things. He's met with Donald Trump last year. I saw him with like, he's just getting into circles where I know he is going to be too big to fail, which will be cool.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
if I was a betting man, I'd for sure I'd bet on that as well. Like that's
Yeah,
like
me too.
seems incredibly likely. He's almost getting to like household name status, if not already. Like anyone that's in the real estate finance space, like definitely knows Sub
Mhm.
Two and Pace Morby and like this the ecosystem you guys have built, which is
Yeah.
crazy to come from like the info industry and like just because like I feel like in the info industry there's a lot of like micro celebrities that like are big in the game, but like outside of that, no one has any idea who they are. But I feel
Yes.
like Sub 2 is like completely ascended that, which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, Pace asked me, I will always remember this and tell people. He asked me one time, how do I become ten times bigger than Grant Cardone? And I was like, oh, you 10x the 10x guy. So
That's
I
a
was like
flex.
100x. Yeah. Right.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah, but that's his mindset, right? Is it's not good. It's and shared mindset of ours too. It's not even good enough to be first. Like we just want to dominate.
Mhm.
And to me, I look at that as proving it to yourself and to everyone else around you, but in that order. I
Mhm.
don't necessarily care to like be ruthless or beat anyone. It's not like it's competitive, but at the same time, we know that that is kind of the measuring stick of your impact in this industry.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. I got one more question for you then. I guess two more. One more on this topic, then we can kind of I want to ask you like where you
Yeah.
see in-person events like plugging into just the info e-learning community industry in
Mhm.
2026 and beyond with how crazy AI is getting, how
Yeah.
digital everything's getting. It's a very interesting conversation to have. But first, I know you guys, you're not, you're very familiar with the model of selling an offer at an in-person event. What is your philosophy around like one-to-many selling in person? Because I know a lot of people, at least that we work with, have this fear of like, I have to go up and I have to be Russell Brunson, I have to deliver this like amazing, extravagant pitch that's like so
Yeah.
calculated, 90 minutes long, and like basically like a musician performing. We don't believe in that. I think it's if you
No,
structure your event properly, it should just be an invitation to take the next logical step. Like it's
for
doesn't
sure.
have to be that way, but I want to hear your guys' philosophy on like how you sell one to many at in-person events.
Yeah, great question. No one's ever asked me that question. A variation that I get that answers one part of it is how do you get comfortable with doing it? Because
Mm,
that is the actual barrier, one to many versus one to one. Um, there is like very subtle, maybe interaction nuance, like because the other person in a one-on-one conversation is usually, but if you're doing a soliloquy, right, at them, then like two people is the same as 200, right? Let's just
mm,
say mechanically. And at that point, I'm like, okay, if there are two people showed up and you had to sell them, does that make you more nervous than 200?
mm.
And the answer can you go one or like one way. Some people are actually more scared of two people in the
Yeah.
room than they would be 200. So I isolate that and let's just say it's two. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Why is that? Usually, if it's two people, it's around the idea of not only like fear of rejection, but the fear of feedback, like personal feedback and
Mm,
rejection. They can't like, they can't escape it. They're in a conversation. If they offer something, it feels like they're risking their social capital or whatnot.
mm,
And then they have to deal with objections to different sales styles. So if it's that, we just kind of train it almost like it's a sales call because for me at that stage you're just uncomfortable with the maybe the objections you'll get or the value the offer has. It could be a lot of things.
mm,
But for 200 people, normally it can be conviction in the price point because with
mm.
two people you can kind of like feel it out and make custom offers. So it's
Yeah.
usually not like I'm scared to make an offer. The 200 people is like I'm scared to make an offer. I'm scared that people aren't going to find this valuable and it will hurt my like sense of self-worth because of that. So
Mm,
in that situation, it's different. I walk them through actually Russell Brunson's 16 trial closes from the perfect webinar, and I
mm,
try to find a frame, much like kind of you alluded to, that feels right for them.
mm,
And I'm just gonna Google perfect webinar. If you guys haven't watched the training, it's like one of the best, most classic internet marketing trainings that exists. The amount of people that have stolen this framework, including myself, is massive. And you can see this, maybe this one's the best one to look at. If I open this in a new tab and zoom in, you'll see those trial closes at the bottom are the ones that I've pretty much memorized. I'll give you some. Russell knows them all, obviously. And I just walk them through and I'm like, okay, so are you scared of once I get the conviction in the price point here, right? That's first. And then I use, hey, well, let's just say if all this did was just get someone one deal, how much would that be worth? And they're like, well, $8,000. I was like, great, then we'll price it at $8,000 so you can
mm,
make that statement, right? And then they're like, that usually clicks. And if it doesn't, I keep going. And I'm like, cool. Then like as far as word tracks and not feeling salesy. That's usually the objection I'll get with creators is like, this doesn't feel like me. This feels slimy. This feels salesy. I don't want to do this. Like surface like objection. It's because of these tracks, word
mm.
tracks. The one that you have scripted usually doesn't feel right to them. And it's not them and they don't know how to articulate it. So what I normally do is walk through. I'm like, hey, do you like believe money is good? Are you just like anti-capitalist? So the idea of like teaching people to make money doesn't make sense to you? And they're like, no, like I believe in that, but if they're adamant, they're like, no, Grant Cardone is like, give me my money. He is a money is good guy, like that I would use that track for.
Uh,
Information alone, classic one. I use this one a lot with even myself. I'm like, information alone, guys, unless implemented, isn't going to do you any good. What's the one thing that you took away that you're going to put into practice in the next 24 hours? Um, that sort of thing works well here too.
mm,
And they're like, yeah, I believe that. Then I'm like, okay, well, then it's your duty. Like, why would you teach them something for an hour and not encourage them to take the next step? The next step could be whatever, right? And I already have wrap on price. Us versus them, that one, some people just are natural us versus them. These are the people that care about competition a lot,
mm,
really like to rally into this if they can, of just like politics. Biden, like if it's Trump, he's like, Biden's trying to like, increase the swamp. I'm trying to drain it. It's us versus them, pick a side kind of thing.
mm,
So finding an enemy, shared enemy would be the idea here. Disposable income, I could go through them all, obviously. But the one that ends up being, uh, I think, like the one that you are alluding to, which is permission to sell.
mm,
That is my favorite. If I can't get anyone, I'm like, well, how about we just ask for permission then, and just said, hey, guys, I have something for you if you want to go deeper with me, but I'm not going to mention it, right? If no one here is interested, is anyone interested in hearing what I have to say? Raise
mm.
hands and go into it, whatever that variation is. I love your choices. I love their two choices. First, your two choices. I love Jason Fladline's. You have three choices close.
Yeah.
So there's like way more than here. Actually, Fladline has the deepest bag of trial closes I
Dude,
probably.
I love Jason stuff too. He's like,
He's
he's the one to many, like you could say one to many goat. Like his stuff is
Dude,
just awesome.
then if there's one podcast that I've done that you would really enjoy, it's just an audio version because I lost the video, but it's me and Fladline, and I'm asking him really nerdy copywriting webinar like questions that I'm sure he's never gotten. So that one,
I'll check that
and
out for sure.
yeah, we landed on why he's so good, where in the webinar he's really exceptionally gifted at, which is pretty much like everywhere, but certainly post CTA.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Yep. So I walk through all those, and I guarantee you guys, if you're watching this and you have someone that says this feels salesy, I don't want to sell high ticket. I don't want to sell anything. Just walk them through here and see if they find something they can lean in. They
Mm.
will believe something here.
Yeah, that's cool. I like this too. And it's like it kind of I think people believe that there's only one way to do it, and I think what you just showed is it shows like there's you can find a framework and a vehicle for selling that matches your voice and like your natural energy and like what lands well for you,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And that's I'm glad you brought that up because that stuff is even though it's like it's kind of old, like it's been in the game for a while, it's still just so like it's just been recycled like by a bunch of other people, like you said. It's still
Yeah.
like it still applies, it still works, which is really
Still
cool.
applies. It still works. Like that framework, the whole framework works, but certainly the 16 trial closes are like pretty much, I don't know if many people do anything other different these days,
Yeah,
other than like kind of what's there. Like those Brunson did a good job of covering the essentials, I think. So
totally.
to me,
Yeah,
you don't want to reinvent the wheel. Yeah.
100%. Well, sweet man. Last question I got for you. I'm personally interested to hear this question, like your thoughts here, with where everything is in like the info space, community space, online business space. Where do you see in-person events plugging in to the whole ecosystem with the rise of AI, with how digital things are getting, with how automated things are getting? We're feeling a very big shift towards virtual, digital. It's more convenient, but where do you see in-person events plugging in based on your experience, just like where you see the market headed?
Well, I'm from Illinois and I'm a Chicago Bull fan, so it's only natural I'm bullish on events too,
Love
especially
it.
live. And here's why. So, 1 month ago, I gave this presentation to creators at CreatorCon in Miami, and there is a certain section that I got to, and it has to do with AI. And a lot of people have so many thoughts about AI. And what I try to do is stay in the present these days. It's really easy to get in the future. And like my whole mindset, generally speaking, if I'm not in the moment, I'm in the future, worrying about the future,
Hmm.
like debating. And that helps me in business understand usually what's going to happen and what's not. But with AI, the rate and the emergence of what is happening makes it extremely hard to predict anything outside of like a couple months, right? Of what's
Hmm.
down the pipe. So live, here's what I think is going to happen. Pretty sure. You guys comment if you think you have a different take on this or a counter argument.
Hmm.
Things are getting pretty scary. Like I have seen, and by scary, I just mean that's the perception, right? To me, it's just like video avatars, though, especially, and the ability for like 11 Labs to impersonate identity theft. There's so many potential scams that are happening right now as we speak and will continue to happen with AI agents that people are going to lose trust in the online environment, even like who's calling them, maybe even who's texting them, right, in a few
Mhm.
months. Just depends until we have certain guardrails, but it'll always be a catch me if you can game. And the fact that it happened a few times will just create this narrative, and I don't see it going the other way of just like, oh, okay, it's safe to go back online, or I don't trust you. So, anyone, I think over the long horizon, will look back at COVID, especially about 2020 is the time when we knew people were real online. So if you had influence and you knew someone before 2020, heuristic might be, yes, that's a real person. But if you're like, I started following that influencer in 2025, they just started their, like, they just posted, is that a real person or fake?
Mhm.
I think that will be the barrier to entry in the future. So many things are getting easier with AI, but the but personal brand barrier to entry will get harder. That is my core belief there. And because of that, I think it's going to cause people to want to seek in-person environments where they know that someone is real and that
Mhm.
they can see them. So in a situation where you are promoting something on IG, the fact that you're promoting a live person meetup just by itself optically will be more trustworthy. And then if you show up at your actual event, then they will know, and that trust will be at, let's call it a higher premium um, to buy if someone has never done a live event. So it's
Mhm.
important in some capacity to get good at live, I think. The in between that you guys can all do right now, I broke it into live events and live streaming. Live streaming will also eventually be have that same thing. Like AI will just the latency will decrease. It already is pretty good, and the models will get good enough to where you're like, is that person even real that's live streaming right now interacting with me? That's crazy.
Mhm.
Right. So this one's probably good for the rest of 2026, I'd say, but eventually in 27, we're probably screwed. Then live events will be the only thing that's left.
Yeah.
And hopefully we have 5 to 10 years away from robotics being good enough to impersonate live events. So I think, guys, that's pretty much the biggest moat you can go after. I can't think of another one other than maybe owning the raw materials that go into making like AI silicon or whatever
Mhm.
that goes into the compute side of the game, the energy, owning energy. So,
100%.
yep, like I said, I would love for someone to offer counterpoint, but I've thought about this a lot till it's made my head hurt over the last 4 years, and I've been early on AI. And even I took a long time to even get to this conclusion. Like I said, months ago, and it finally clicked. I'm like, oh, what Pace is doing is so moated, and we never knew it this whole time we were doing it. We never
Yeah.
saw it come. Yeah,
Dude, thanks for sharing that. I love seeing that because that's exactly our philosophy as well. And from what we see too, like the other side of it from a consumer perspective is we think that as people like start to engage with more AI creators and digital creators, and like people are using AI to post their tweets and like do AI generated comments, and like
yeah,
you're not gonna know like if that's a real person until you actually meet them. And I think it's gonna cause people like to seek these out as well and like look for, okay, is Nick Fisher like he has his YouTube content, which is awesome. His X is awesome, but like I would love
hmm
to get in the room with him and like actually meet him and engage with him and just like meet other people that would want to get in the room with Nick as well. I we see those as like those types of offers that have an IRL component are going to be like incredibly high leverage.
yep,
With how easy it's going to be to like start like a coaching info business with where AI goes as well. So I think those two things paired together is going to be like it's a huge moat to have IRL, at least some sort of IRL component
I
in
would
your
agree.
business.
I would agree. And thank you. Yeah, and if you want to come to my next live event, just message Andy. Like, hopefully, he's the one helping me in the future. But if we don't work something out, then still message him too. Thank you, sir. Like for this, is there anything that I can help your audience out with? What do they need?
Honestly, I'm gonna link your socials down in the
Cool.
description. Make sure to follow Nick on X on YouTube. I have very few notifications on any platforms, and I have yours on for both
Yeah,
YouTube and X because you just always
dude.
putting sauce out there.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate
I
that.
think our audience for sure, like just consuming your content, you don't hold anything back. It's not very surface level. So I think what you're already making, what you're giving to the industry is like plenty. So appreciate you for jumping on and
Thank you.
sharing the value. I'm happy that we got to talk about events because as far as I saw, you hadn't dove into like in-person events very much
Oh man, this
in
is
a
you're getting
podcast. So it
exclusive
was
on
pretty
it.
cool to see you just like
It is
dive
cool.
into that rabbit hole.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and hopefully like I haven't learned as much as you. Like I would love to see I'm probably gonna look at your content. Do you make content on event strategy?
Yeah, yeah. Our YouTube
Cool.
channel is
I'll check
like
that
we've
out.
got a ton of event strategy on there.
Cool. Well, dude, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you and see you in person here next month.